Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Holy moly, it's actually happening. Well, probably not. It's probably not going to succeed, unfortunately, even though it should, but it is happening. You know, people are trying to make it happen. We've spoken about this before. In fact, we spoke about it during Kevin McCarthy's initial run for Speaker of the House. There's only one person who should be Speaker right now. It's not Jim Jordan. It's not Byron Donalds. It's not Matt Gaetz. It's not Chip Roy. No, it's Donald Trump. Yep, Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States, reality TV star and real estate mega tycoon, could in fact be selected to serve as Speaker of the House, third in line in succession to the presidency of the United States. Not sure if Democrats realized that this was a possible outcome of them siding with Matt Gaetz to oust Speaker McCarthy. Maybe they didn't think about this aspect. I think the sudden realization is starting to kick in. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I want to start off with an Andrew Yang CNN clip, just because he said something that we could use, I guess, to segue.
Kevin McCarthy could even have led in a bipartisan fashion. I think Democrats cast their votes because they didn't think he could.
Well, Democrats cast their votes because they were told to cast their vote in a particular way. I mean, we all know that there was probably a diversity of opinion within the Democratic Party, but then the word came out saying, guys, we are not going to bail out Kevin McCarthy. We're going to vote with Matt Gaetz and the hardliners for partisan reasons. Now, what happens next? It's a dice roll. I, as an American citizen, would prefer not to have that kind of dice roll, because anyone who says, again, that they know what's coming next, this is unprecedented. Right. We don't know. We do know that the government runs out of money in 45 days. We do know that there are vital priorities like Ukraine aid that are now subject to us having a speaker.
He talks about how it's uncharted territory and we don't know where this is going to bring us. Well, unfortunately for you, Mr. Andrew Yang, my number one top priority when it comes to House legislation is funding for Ukraine. It turns out this might be the next option. Trump is not ruling out being the new House Speaker. Believe it or not, the House Speaker doesn't actually have to be serving in the House. Sean Hannity claims that House Republicans are trying to, quote, draft Trump as Speaker, says ex-president is open to it.
Sources telling me at this hour some House Republicans have been in contact with and have started an effort to draft former President Donald Trump to be the next speaker. And I have been told that President Trump might be open to helping the Republican Party, at least in the short term, if necessary, if it's needed. Anyway, I've now heard from a number of people. I know for a fact Donald Trump has been contacted about possibly him being an interim speaker. Is that a reality?
I don't know. He'd be great, but I want Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. If he wants to be speaker,
well,
great.
He would still,
but,
well,
I want him to be president of the United States.
President. He's still going to be running for president.
All right. That's where we need him, is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If he wants to be speaker, then that's fine, too.
All right. Well, I think you do want to temporarily to
You can't do them at the same time. You can't do them at the same time. I get that.
So my response is pretty much in line with what you guys were expecting. Yes, 100% do it. You know, it comes back to that same concept that I'm always talking about. Play the freaking game. The former president of the United States is being attacked from all angles. No stone left unturned. They will stop at nothing to destroy him. The whole thing is obviously a politically motivated witch hunt. If Democrats are willing to stoop that low to that level, then Republicans should be willing to do the absolute bare minimum, the basic, and meet them at that level, or at least even close. I wouldn't say this is stooping to that level, but it's certainly playing the game. Make Trump the Speaker of the House and then impeach Joe Biden. You know, chances are you're not going to be able to successfully impeach Joe and then Kamala, then placing Donald Trump as the acting president of the United States until 2024, where he'd actually be eligible to run for a third term technically, or I guess that'd be 2 terms and a half kind of. Anyways, chances are that's not going to happen and that isn't a realistic plan, but what is a realistic plan is simply having Donald Trump as a House Speaker. As Matt Gaetz alluded to a couple weeks ago, there's actually a path towards granting Trump immunity in these cases through committee votes.
You can actually bring President Trump in to give testimony to the Congress, and in doing so, immunize him. Now, there's different forms of immunity that take place at the committee level, subcommittee level. In some instances, for full immunity, you have to have more of a supermajority vote. But if you had a supermajority vote of a committee, like Speaker McCarthy could set up a select committee tomorrow that could bring Trump in and immunize him And then we could proceed with the very legitimate investigative work that we're doing of the Bidens and the corrupt DOJ. Obviously, we're aware of the ability for any person to plead the fifth. You can dissolve someone's ability to plead the fifth if you immunize them. And so Congress has this ability that's been recognized. It's even laid out in 18 U.S.C. 6002 and 6005, if folks want to look it up. But there, you've got the ability to say, well, we're hereby compelling your testimony. We're giving you immunity for anything you say to us and anything that would lead to. And so, for example, if President Trump came in and said, I'm here to give you testimony about the witch hunt, the abuse of criminal process that Congress has legitimate oversight equities to resolve, and if he were to say things to us, we could immunize him for that conduct that he were to discuss.
Does it take a vote, or does it
frequently happens? But these aren't usual times.
Is it a committee vote? Is it the whole House that has to vote on immunization? And when was the last time this statute was used?
I don't know when the last time it was used. I can say it can be any committee or subcommittee that can grant immunities. So we could even bring him into the subcommittee chaired by my good friend and colleague Andy Biggs, the crime subcommittee. That has jurisdiction over some of these activities of the Department of Justice. And if Trump were to essentially become a whistleblower, you have to think about it almost like whistleblower protections. Trump, the ultimate whistleblower, potentially the beneficiary of congressional immunity on some of the information.
Why not do that? I mean, it seems like an absolute freaking no-brainer to me. Let's not sit here and pretend as if politics is a clean game where everything's kosher and all rules are followed. You know, Republicans love to pretend as if that's the standard that they stick by. Give me a break. Half of them are crooks, and everything that happens in Washington happens through behind-the-scenes, backdoor meetings and discussions. If this Republican House was serious, they'd do it. Of course, there's still an uphill battle, I mean, legally. While somebody who's not a House representative can theoretically serve as House Speaker, according to House Rule 26, facing federal criminal indictments does actually disqualify an individual from serving in House GOP leadership. But according to The Hill, lawmakers could theoretically change that rule. And so I feel like we're kind of in a situation right now where this Republican House has to make a decision. You know, it's an inflection point. It's a choose your path moment. I said there's two options. Well, let's say there's three options. Option number one is to continue doing what you've been doing, for the House to continue to pursue this lukewarm, milquetoast, establishment Washington status quo garbage. Simply elect another rhino, and it's another day in Washington. Option number two is to elect an actual conservative, country-loving patriot. And option number three is to drop the gloves, to stop playing kiddie games, and to really create a mess in Washington. Personally, I think the storm option is almost always the proper option, especially in a world of dysfunction. Washington is the mecca of dysfunction. The only way that reform will be achieved, the only way that any change will ever be achieved, is through chaos. You need a storm. You need a little bit of craziness. Frankly, Washington needs a little bit of Donald Trump, because what happens after the storm? It's the calm after the storm. And Washington for too long has been a cloudy thunderstorm of dysfunction, chaos, corruption, and corporate lobbyist interest put above regular American citizens. You want to change that image? Do something crazy. And what's crazy is that the supposedly crazy route isn't really all that crazy. The Democrat ambition is clear. It's incredibly obvious. You just got to look at this one poll to understand exactly what the strategy here is, exactly what's going on. Democrats aren't banking on messaging or a strong charismatic leader and candidate to lead them to victory in 2024. No, they're banking on their indictments. You know, wake up, GOP. We're headed towards straight up banana republic territory. National poll post-debate. Trump is leading Joe Biden, according to Ledger 360, 44 points to 41. Trump is winning by pretty much all metrics right now. But if Trump was found guilty and imprisoned following one of these trials, who would you vote for between Trump and Biden? All of a sudden, Biden leads by 10 points. So obviously Democrats are looking at that. Democrats have probably been polling this exact thing for months, if not years at this point. This is literally their strategy. Their strategy is not to win by winning the democratic process. Their strategy is to imprison their political opponent. They're telling you this in the open. Their strategy is to imprison Donald Trump. So what's more radical? Protecting Donald Trump from this clear political persecution and electing him Speaker of the House? Or attempting to imprison your political opponents because you don't like elections? It's actually not extreme at all. And technically, Donald Trump is one of the most popular Republicans out there. He's the de facto GOP leader, and so why shouldn't he be Speaker of the House? You know, obviously it's an uphill battle. It's a little bit of a weird situation. It's uncharted territory, as was stated by Andrew Yang in the earlier clip, but everything's uncharted territory. The last 8 years of American politics has felt as some sort of alternative reality, some crazy break off in the multiverse where we're living through this unprecedented timeline. Unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures and responses. That's what the GOP ought to learn. Enough with the politics of old, the decorum, the fake decorum, and the respect of the process and the blah 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 blah. Democrats are trying to imprison your political leader and extinguish your political party. The only legitimate course is the uncharted course. At least, that's my view. Trump for House Speaker 2023. Let's get the job done. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.